Good morning, Asilomar. Oh, I'm so glad to be here, so glad to be with all of you, because together we're creating spiritual community. And in this particular place at Asilomar, we're creating a tapestry so wide, so varied, that it covers the entire world, that we have 100 million people in our tapestry right here in this room. Thank you. So today we're talking about transformation. Transformation in science of mind. So each of us is born of a spiritual idea. Each of us is a spiritual idea being born. The divine comes down, weaves us around, looks through our eyes, listens through our ears, speaks through our mouth, has its way with us. So when we say we're transforming, we say that we're changing. If the divine is already me, in me, as me, through me, then what is it that we're transforming? The experience. We are transforming the experience. And it begs the quintessential question, what is it that I want to experience? When I walk into anything, what is it I want to experience? So before I go there, I want to tell you about a typical morning in heaven. So it's a fresh, bright morning in heaven. St. Peter, but us religious scientists, we're kind of informal, so we call him Pete. So Pete's standing there with his iPad, and the first person walks up to him and he says, "What religion are you?" And the first one says, "Zoroastrianist." He goes, "You are in room 12, down the hall, but when you go past room 8, be very, very quiet." So the guy runs down the hall in front of room 8, then goes screaming down to room 12. The door opens. "Mom, Dad, it's a big celebration. Streamers are going, balloons. It's a party." Everyone in line is beaming. They're home. So the next one's really excited. He says, "What religion are you?" He says, "I'm Buddhist." "Okay, you are in room 15. Go down the hall in front of room 8. Be very, very quiet. But then you can go to room 15. So the guy, same thing happens. Runs down the room, and the door bursts open, and it is a party. Everybody is reunited. It is great. And so the same thing happens, but each time Pete says, "Be very, very quiet." So, of course, a religious scientist gets up to the front of the room. He says, What religion are you?" "Religious science." He says, "You are in room 22. I know. Be very, very quiet." "Got it." "Pete, how come?" He goes, "Oh, that's easy." He says, "Room 8 is where the fundamentalists are. They think they're the only ones here." So I had the good fortune of listening to Eugene Holden this morning, and one of the things Eugene said is, if you want to be transformed, get into a relationship. And I can tell you that's what my transformation was about. So when I was single, David Bruner was talking about that, being single, I prayed and prayed and prayed and wanted a kind man. Kind. I didn't care if he was ugly, dumb as a box of rocks. He needed to be kind. That's all I wanted, was kind. So he comes along. His name is Mason. And not only is he kind, he's smart, handsome as can be. And in the beginning, he was a fundamentalist. I forgot to put that on my list of things. Kind and religious science. Okay, for you single people, kind, religious science, all right? So we get together, and he's perfect in every single way, like perfect in every way. We agree on finances, we agree on child rearing, we agree on all the major issues. We even agree on charity, on tithing, on all of these things. But the moment we put the labels on it, we're off to the races. So before we get married, we decide we're going to do premarital counseling on this issue. And so I go out and I'm looking for a psychologist, and I find a guy who had been a Methodist minister turned Buddhist, who he and his wife had written a book on breathing. So I figured this was the guy for us. He was going to help us transform our marriage, okay? What experience did I want to have? So we get to see this guy, and he's very serious. We walk in, and he starts asking us about religion. And we have 4 sessions with him. The 4th session, he looks at me, and he says, I want you to leave the room. I go, well, okay. So I leave, and I'm gone a while. I'm gone like 20 minutes. And so he calls me back into the room, and when he calls me back in the room, he is hopping mad, like mad. And he says, get out. He looks at Mason, he says, get out. And I said, well, what happened? He goes, get out. What happened? And he says, well, ask him. He would know. And so Mason's going, I don't know what happened. And he goes, and he turns to Mason, he says, it's people like you who've harmed Martha and me. And I'm thinking, oh my God, I've been allied with the guy. I don't even know what happened. So we said, I said, well, I don't understand. And he says, look, as your therapist, I need to be able to support your relationship. I cannot do that. I think you guys aren't going to make it. Get out. So he throws us out on our proverbial ear. We're like suddenly thrown out of this place. And so fortunately for me, I had to go away on a business trip the next day. Because I felt like I had been nuked, you know? And so I want to put a pin in the story right here, because as you can tell, I call him my husband, so there must be some happy ending to this. But so this was right here, the moment of transformation. What experience did I want to have? And people at the Rio Grande Center, they know that there's 4 things they have to give up in order to have this experience. 1, what they think it should look like, what I think it should look like, what I think I know, who I think I am, and what I think it means. Those are the 4 things. Just 4 little things, 4 little tiny things. But what experience did I want to have? So I go away on my business trip, and I think about it. All the things that had been making me mad. I'd go off to prac class, and he'd pray for me all the time I was gone so I wouldn't go to hell. It irked me. I'm telling you, it irked me. He always wanted me to read the Bible with him. Oh, my God. So, the nerve, you know? So I go away on my business trip, and I realized, and I hate to admit this, I was so ashamed, I was a fundamentalist religious scientist. I had been doing to him all the things that I was accusing him of doing to me. While he was praying for me not to go to hell, I was secretly thinking he was too dumb to be one of us. And how is that going to help the relationship? How is that going to be kindness? And as a religious scientist, for me, it was total hypocrisy. Because I was saying all paths to God were good, except at my house. You're perfectly able to have anything you want to have out there, but when it comes to in my house, behind my doors, you better be a religious scientist or you ain't nothing. So here it was, in my face. Did I believe it or didn't I? Was I going to be a true religious scientist or wasn't I? So I answered yes, because I love this man dearly. I love him. And he has a good heart. And he is kind and wonderful and smart and funny. And I love who I am when I'm with him. So I went home and I confessed. I hated doing that. I confessed. And from that moment on, I changed my behavior. I wanted a different experience. He was on their board of trustees. The church he was in was called the Council of Elders. He was on the Council of Elders. And so I supported him in that. We tithed equally to his church and my church. I began reading the Bible with him, and it turned into one of the most beautiful experiences of my life. Because in my arrogance, I had read the Bible before. But when I read it with him, I read the Bible in my heart. I experienced it. I gave up what I think it should look like. I gave up what I thought I knew about it. I gave up who I thought I was as a religious scientist, and I gave up what I thought it meant. And I had this incredibly beautiful experience. And so then after a little while, he had a falling out with the Council of Elders. He had seen the work that we were doing at our center in terms of being out in the community and really talking to working with the homeless, working with different people in our community. And so he went to his center, who would send away lots of money to little children across the seas, but they didn't want to be involved in their community, and he had a falling out over this issue. He said, I want us to be involved in our community. And they laughed at him. And so he left that center, he left that church for him, and he didn't find another one. And so by this time, I was kind of in the rhythm of, his church, my church, his church, my church, And so I was already in my last year of ministerial school, and one day, I'll never forget this day, I'm coming in from outside, and I literally have 2 bags of groceries in my arms, and he's working outside, and I stopped and I go, you haven't found a new church. I'm free this Sunday. I'll go with you to a church to see if, want to go check out a church or two. I'm happy. I'm open to go help you find a new church. And he says, I'm waiting for you to start your church because I'm a really good organizer and I could help you a lot. I nearly dropped the bag of groceries. I really did. And so, true to form, I didn't even know I was going to start a church. It wasn't anything that I planned on doing, but it was my call, and he saw it in me before I ever saw it in me. And so then, the time came, we founded the Rio Grande Center for Spiritual Living, and from that day to this, he's there as much as he can be. He's there even when I'm not there. He stands outside with me. He greets people. He learned how to make Jell-O, for all of the, that was more than I knew how to do. And he does barbecue and all of these things for the church picnics, and, But that would not have happened if I hadn't been willing to give up all of the constructs of my imagination. I'm a very creative woman, so I had to give up. So what are the 4? Give up what I think it looks like. Okay, so say it with me. Give up what I think it looks like. Give up what I think I know. Give up who I think I am. And give up what I think it means. And then I'm ready for the experience. You guys are great. So that was my transformation. The transformation comes from the fact that I don't have to be anything different. I arrive on the planet with everything that I have. I'm already here. God is looking, the divine is looking through my eyes right now, and she sees the most beautiful group of people ever. She sees the tapestry that is being woven in this room right now, the 100 million people. There is only an appearance of these individuals in this room. That 100 million have already happened all over the world. There are people yearning for what we have in our hearts even today. The work we do here is so vitally important. We are saving lives. We are saving lives because every single one of us has the divine peering through us, waiting to be transformed, waiting to ask ourselves that question, what is it? What experience do I want to have? And if I'm willing to do those 4 things, I'm able to have that experience. So, okay, I have a great poem for you in honor of our speaker last night, but I want to make sure you have the 4 things. Okay, so I have to give up what I think it looks like. Okay, the side back there, they're not convinced. All right, one more time. Okay, give up what I think it looks like, what I think I know, who I think I am, and what I think it means. And what do we get? The experience. That's right. That's right. So, I'll be right back. I have a poem for you. Jonathan was reading it to himself already. All right. It's from Hafiz. It's called We Have Not Come to Take Prisoners. We have not come here to take prisoners, but to surrender ever more deeply to freedom and joy. But to surrender ever more deeply to freedom and joy. We have not come into this exquisite world to hold ourselves hostage from love. We have not come into this exquisite world to hold ourselves hostage from love. Run, my dear, from anything that may not strengthen your precious budding wings. Run from anything that might not strengthen your precious budding wings. Run like hell, my dear, from anyone likely to put a sharp knife into the sacred, tender vision of your beautiful heart. We have a duty to befriend those aspects of obedience. We have a duty to befriend those aspects of obedience that stand outside of our house and shout to our reason, oh please, come out to play. Oh please, come out to play. For we have not come here to take prisoners or to confine our wondrous spirits. We've not come here to take prisoners or to confine our wondrous spirits, but to experience ever and ever more deeply our divine courage, freedom, and light, but to experience ever and more deeply our divine courage, freedom, and light. Namaste.